Good?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. What's up, everybody? So this is Blaster Master Zero. It's a 2017 reboot of the classic 1988 Blaster Master for the NES. Time starts here, by the way. Probably should have said something earlier. Whatever. Timer's irrelevant, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to be trying to go fast or anything in this game. But yeah, this is a reboot of the classic game for NES. The first level here shares a lot of similarities with the original game, just in general theme and level layout. There's quite a few similarities between this and the original game, and also a lot of new stuff as well. Nice. Actually got a good pattern from that totally not Metroid. Unfortunately, when you're out of the tank, you take double damage from enemies, and most of the dungeons when you're out of the tank involve a lot of damage boosting, so taking extra damage on the way to the dungeon usually will either cost you some time in the dungeon itself or cost you a death. Either way, it's not good. So unfortunately, there's really not a whole lot going on in the first dungeon here. It's just kind of walking over some spikes and making our way to the boss. This game is pretty like open-ended in the sense that there's not like linear levels or whatever, but on the same page it's linear in the sense that it's blocked by progression, like item progression. So we have to kill this boss to get the weapon upgrade that lets us kill a monster blocking our way to area 2. This is totally not stolen from Metroid. Please don't sue. Father Heart, yeah. No, totally not Mother Brain. Can't sue us here, Nintendo. There was no TM after the name. You can't hold that up in a court of law.
Mother Brain is one word.
Yeah, exactly. Mother Brain is one word, according to Nintendo. And those, again, aren't Metroids. They're jellyfish. But yeah, now that we have our Hyper Beam upgraded, increases the damage our turret in the tank does by 50%, and it also lets us kill these wall monsters that we'll see in a couple spots throughout the game, the first one being right here. Yeah, Hyper Beam, also not from Metroid. Again, can't sue. Alright, so Area 2 is where things start pretty drastically deviating from the original game. The actual level theme and atmosphere is completely different, and the layout is entirely different. The boss is the same boss, but it's a completely different fight from the original as well. They kind of gave this almost like a Metroid Zero Mission kind of treatment, but I'd say even more extreme than they went with Zero Mission in terms of adding new content and overhauling the old content. Wow, good jump. One thing I should go over now, because it'll come up later in the run, is whenever you do certain things in this game, it'll set a checkpoint, and you can kind of like save wherever through the menu and then soft reset and go back to the nearest checkpoint with whatever weapons you got. And you set a checkpoint either by entering a new area, entering a new dungeon, or hitting a save point. So you can do that to set up some pretty significant save warps throughout the run that save on a lot of backtracking. So this game has 4 DLC characters you can play as. They're all characters from other series, and the perks of the bonus characters is they can break destroyable blocks without any turret upgrades, so they can effectively entirely skip Area 2. Unfortunately, we're playing as the normal default character Jason, who has to beat the Area 2 boss to be able to destroy those blocks. This dungeon can actually be kind of scary. There's a lot of really tight damage boosts all throughout this dungeon, and all of these like glowing slime pools are on a global timer, so if I mess up any of the movement anywhere, it just throws those cycles off and I end up dying in the final room. There's really not much leeway to it at all. A lot of the DLC characters have abilities that let them take less damage in this area or take alternate routes where they don't have to damage boost as much. I hope that didn't mess up the global timer. It probably did. Yeah, it did. So we're gonna do the slow safe strat here. It's better than dying and losing like a minute. If I wouldn't have messed up in the previous room, normally you would just run all through the pink slime through this entire room. So you might notice the pink meter up in the corner of the screen next to my life meter. That's my gun meter. It shows how many upgrades I've grabbed and which level of my gun power-up I currently have equipped. Anytime I get hit by an enemy, I lose 1 level off that meter. And at the end of Area 5, and Area 5 is going to be the next overhead dungeon I do, I absolutely need to have a full gun meter, all 8 bars filled for the boss. So not getting hit on that boss that I just killed gives me opportunities to not have to farm as much in Area 5. What would have been nice is if the boss shoots projectiles at you, and as you destroy them, they can leave drops, and sometimes they'll leave gun upgrades, and that just gives you an even better chance of not having to farm when you get to Area 5. If we do have to farm for gun drops, it doesn't add too much time, maybe 45 seconds in an absolute worst case scenario. One nice thing about this over speedrunning the original game is you don't have to pause on every screen transition anymore. That was definitely a thing in the original game. It was quite annoying. But this level, we're kind of back to having a similar theme to the original stage from the NES game. The conveyor belts are kind of a new gimmick they added in, but the actual look is pretty identical. The layout's completely different, though. So throughout this stage, I'm going to be manipulating these conveyor belts. And the idea is that I'm not going to open them all the way. I'm going to try to open them just enough to be able to slink through without getting trapped behind them. If you try cutting it too tight, you obviously get trapped and have to hit the conveyor belt again. If you go too late, you're losing potential frames you could save, so it's like a bit of a balance you gotta walk between the two. I'm kind of erring more on the side of being safe here, because This obviously isn't like a PB attempt or anything. Yeah, exactly. Marathon safety. Just once, I want a marathon run to go good for me. It'll happen someday, right? Oh my god, get on the belt. So this game is really finicky on the conveyor belt detection. Sometimes you'll be right on top of the belt, hitting down, which is the input to grab onto the belt, and the game just will not let you grab onto it until you move off of it and move back onto it. So this boss coming up here is the first major RNG hurdle in the run. This boss can cost you upwards of 30 to 40 seconds with bad RNG. So what I'm hoping for is the boss will instantly just go to the top right corner. If that happens, we're in good shape. Anything else and it's iffy if we'll be able to get a decent fight. And the worst possible pattern. Because this boss knows. Unfortunately, with that pattern, there's not much I can do. It's just going to be a really slow fight. Again, that's the literal worst pattern that boss can possibly give you. I'll take a 2-cycle, though. It's not terrible. Alright, so now we have the hover upgrade. And we don't want to skip all, or we don't want to travel all the way back to the beginning of Area 3, so we're just going to hit save here. Use the game's built-in soft reset and reload our file. Because I never hit any save points in Area 3, the last checkpoint it has set is at the start of Area 3, so it just dumps me right back at the entrance. That saves probably 2 to 3 minutes of backtracking through the stage. So yeah, the next few minutes of the run are mostly just going to be backtracking to the very first screen of the game. Just like the original game, after you get the hover upgrade, to proceed in the game, you have to go to the very first screen and hover up the wall. Which they were at least nice enough to tell you about in the instruction manual for the game in the original, but I mean, who actually read those things when they were a kid? So if you were like me and threw that thing in the trash as soon as you opened the box, you probably spent most of your childhood wandering around until you finally decided to fly at a wall for some reason and see where it goes. I totally went the wrong way here. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. We're gonna grab this health just to be safe. It only costs a couple of seconds. So unfortunately, the game's kind of being stingy with hover drops. Unlike the original game, your hover meter does automatically regenerate in this. Unfortunately, it doesn't regenerate too fast, so I might not have enough hover to do a little bit faster of a strat here. We're gonna try it anyways, why not? Barely got it. Hovering straight up like that over going to the first platform saves maybe 3 to 4 seconds at most. It's nothing too significant, but like once you start getting into the top tier times in this game, that 3 or 4 seconds is huge. Alright, so it might appear as if I'm going a little bit out of my way here to hit a save point. That's not a safety save. I need to come back to that room after I kill the boss here anyways, because it gives me the key to unlock that door. So what better way to do that than save warp all the way back to the room after the boss. That really only works with bosses you fight in the side view mode in the tank, because as soon as you enter a dungeon, it sets your checkpoint to the start of the dungeon. So if the boss is in a dungeon, it kind of makes a save warp not viable. Jerk bees. Doesn't matter what game it is, if there's a bee in it, it's a jerk. There's a fun game for chat. Try to find me a single video game with a bee that isn't a jerk. Super Mario Galaxy? No, a bee that isn't a jerk.
Oh, okay. Well, your mom.
Bee movie? More like Bean movie.
More like band.
Nice. So, coming up, we're going to be seeing my friend Frog the Fred. He was an overhead view dungeon boss in the original game. This one, they turn him into a side view boss.
The earth-shattering tyrant.
I may or may not be wearing this frog on my shirt right now.
You are way too tall for that to be in the camera, my friend.
I don't know how this camera
There
works.
you go.
I can't tell how this camera works. Leave me alone.
How this camera works is that you're too tall.
That's not my fault.
Next marathon, don't be as tall.
Don't be as tall.
That's your goal.
Speedruns Rochester is now no longer accepting submissions from potential runners over 6'3".
Wow.
No longer going check.
Hey, the runner's not 6'3". The game is over 6'3".
Okay, so I just gotta chop my legs off at the kneecaps.
That's fine, yeah.
Yep.
I will see you guys next year.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? My name is Skavenger216, but slightly shorter for various reasons.
More like 214 now, am I right? So now we're going into Area 5. This is the token water level. Unfortunately, while swimming down to the bottom of this area would be a lot faster than sinking down in my tank, I have to take my tank down for another one of those wall monsters that we've seen at the beginning of the run. I need the tank's turret to destroy that monster and proceed through. With the DLC characters, most of them you can just swim down and use their out-of-the-tank weapons to destroy the wall monster. Jason doesn't get that luck. I love this little touch with the background fading to black and the tank's headlights coming on as you like proceed down into the depths of the water. It's like a neat little attention to detail kind of thing, I guess. Don't mind me, I clearly fail at English. That's what happens when you sit in a car literally all day. Your brain starts going dumb. So something I learned from some Ocarina of Time runners, swimming backwards, way faster than swimming forwards. Saves frames. If an enemy would throw a bomb at me, I could turn this into a super swim, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
And I won't stop until I get the next never.
Metroid wanted to troll me.
The swimming sprite animation is absolutely adorable. Just got this little wiggle balls.
Yeah.
It's great.
I don't know. I'm a fan of Shantae's swim animation when you play as her in this game. Oh yeah, so I went over the DLC characters earlier. I never really mentioned what those DLC characters are. There's Gunvolt from the Missouri Striker Gunvolt series, Ikoro from the Galgun series, Shovel Knight, that's pretty self-explanatory, and Shantae from... Yeah, Shovel Knight from Star Trek, exactly. And Shantae from Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
So even if I was to skip going and grabbing those gun upgrades, it's impossible to make this platform cycle one cycle earlier, so you might as well just go get the drops anyways. Unfortunately, I only have 2 more enemies I'm going to get drops from. 1 more now. I needed to drop a large gun upgrade, which is a pretty slim chance, otherwise I'm going to have to farm. And we're farming. It's not going to be too bad, fortunately. I only have to pick up a couple drops. Let's go for dumb strats that only save a couple seconds. Hey, we got it. For like the first, I'd say 9 months this game was out, me and all the other runners thought it was impossible to make that cycle. Like, we tried everything we could think of and could not make that cycle, and then I forget exactly who it was, but somebody accidentally did it one day and was like, oh, so I guess that is a thing. So I don't really have to do any farming. I do have to go out of my way to grab those 2 drops, but that enemy was nice and dropped a gun upgrade for me and stopped me from having to re-enter and farm more. I absolutely need to be at a full gun meter for this boss. So unless I suck at mashing, this boss won't get to move. If it moves from its spot at all, I failed. I failed. Did you just say you mash motion controls? You mash motion control? What?
Have you not seen an Odyssey run with...
I have not played or seen Odyssey.
Take the Joy-Cons and go...
Seriously?
When you roll, you just keep.
You mash, but motion.
Yeah, you mash your motion controls.
You mash your motion controls. I like it.
It's not lag, it's
Wrong game.
Yeah, I kind of want to play Odyssey now. So the rest of this run has been canceled while I blind play Mario Odyssey.
I think we get more viewers.
You want to do my run for that?
We probably would, actually. So that death there isn't a big deal. I can summon my tank right back to me here and I hit the save point anyways. It would have been a little bit quicker, obviously, to not die and summon my tank back to me, but whatever. We were talking about important things in life like Super Mario Odyssey and waggling our mashing motion controls or something. I don't... Whatever crazy vernacular you kids are using these days. That should be my new shtick on Twitch. I should just be like a grumpy old man, dye my hair gray, grow my beard out to my belly button. Back in my day, we just needed a joystick and 1 button to play a video game, you spoiled brats.
And then they crash the video game. Oh.
Awkward.
Motion controls, back when I was a kid, I made fun of my sisters for moving back and forth playing video games.
All motion controls we have is Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. Yeah, we're turning the SNES controller actively turns the cart.
The harder you press the button, the faster you go.
You know, that was always funny until they actually did that with the PS2 controller and ruined it for everybody. Alright, so yeah, now we're in Area 6. Every game needs an ice level.
Season 6 and 4.
I messed that up. So yeah, unfortunately most of this stage is just shooting through ice blocks and trying not to take too much damage. There's one spot I'm going to have to hit the retry function in the menu. You can kind of exploit that in this game to refill your health and sub-weapon energy on the fly. It doesn't cost much time if you can actually menu, but yeah, menuing is the hardest thing to do in a video game. Usually it's a trade-off of about 3 seconds to completely refill your health and hover. So it's a worthwhile trade-off. It definitely costs less time than if you were to just not hit retry and end up dying. Because while deaths in this game are actually somewhat forgiving, they are definitely not friendly in terms of not costing you time. Like, even a quick death in this will usually cost you, like, I don't know, 30 seconds at least. With the exception of that one I took in Area 5. That one is about the only quick death abuse in this game. Alright, so this room, there's a lot of really tight platform cycles to try to hit. If I mess any of them up, bad things happen. We'll just leave it like that. I think I'm already screwed. Maybe not. Nope, we got it.
Hooray for not messing up.
There's our dead buddy Fred on the ground. Everybody cry for Fred. Thank you, Proto.
Anytime.
You could have went and subbed to my channel and actually put Fred in the chat. But
I could. But
I'll
that
forgive you
costs
this
money,
time.
and
Wow,
effort.
I just hit another really tight platform cycle that I never hit in runs. And then I missed the free one. But it's okay, Fred. You will live on forever in my chat and on my shirt. So I'm going to attempt to despawn an enemy spawner here, and I didn't get it. If you hover at just the right spot while you're falling there, you can completely despawn that enemy spawner. Doesn't really save any time, it just makes maneuvering through there a little bit less annoying. We're going to be coming up on, by far, the most annoying boss in the run in a moment here. This is another huge RNG spike in the run. This next boss is essentially like a series of eyeballs around the room that open and shut at random intervals. So RNG completely dictates how long this fight's gonna take. Because the weapon I have spreads and damages all the eyeballs, but it'll only damage all of them as long as all of them are open. And it's never the ones you go and stand by that open up either. It's always the ones like all the way across the room. So yeah, that was a pretty bad fight. That was bad RNG combined with me just not playing it well. In my defense, I am breaking in a new controller, so this D-pad is still kind of funky to me.
That was actually a new Kirby game with a character that like brings flat to that. And play for him for like an hour. So,
Really?
yeah, it's actually pretty fun game. So if you want to break it down.
Well, it's not. It's more the D-pad.
Like the up down. What kind of?
Yeah, yeah.
You're using like a.
Yeah, I'm using the 8-bit dough SNES 30 Pro. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the D-pad's still stiff because it's a new controller. So like the diagonals are kind of hard to hit right now. Like this is actually the second one of these controllers I've gotten. The first one after like a month of using it was beautiful. This one I just haven't had the time to properly break in yet. Yeah. I've actually never been like too huge into the Kirby series, but I was watching videos of the new one and it doesn't look, yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. Looks like it would be fun co-op. Like for sure it looks fun co-op. Uh-oh. So yeah, now we have to do some more backtracking, unfortunately. This will be the last of the backtracking we have to do in the run, though. Unfortunately, we have to backtrack all the way to Area 3, which means going all the way back to the first screen of the game.
Oof.
And then back to Area 3, which is the complete opposite side of the world map. Shoutouts to these dumb swimmer ninjas that just keep swimming into the spikes trying to get to me. I'm not gonna lie, my first playthrough of this game, I was laughing pretty hard the first time I seen that. Alright, the game gave me a health drop. I was kind of hoping for a hover drop there. This could actually be a little bit of a problem. Yeah, we might be fine. We're about to find out, I guess. Yeah, just barely had enough hover. Unfortunately, due to the nature of like hover drop RNG and the fact that your hover meter only refills so fast, a lot of your optimal strats for movement in this game are dependent on how much hover energy you have. Alright, so now just back through Area 2, and then we'll be back to Area 3. And then from there we can go on to the end game. They kind of changed up the flow of the game a little bit from the original. At this point in the original, like you would go through the same order of areas in the original, and then at this point you would go to Area 2, which is where the entrance to Area 7 lies. Then after Area 7 you would go back to 2, go on to 3, and then that's where Area 8 is. This one they kind of just changed it around and made it so you get to Area 7 from Area 3, and Area 8 just continues on from Area 7. Made it a little bit less confusing to navigate, I guess. They also added some stealth elements to Area 7. In a blind playthrough of this, if you don't actually like do the stealth segments as intended, you just get wrecked pretty quick. However, we don't have time to be crawling around and doing stealth stuff, so we're just gonna go all in and hope we don't die. So I did this earlier in the run as well. You're gonna see me fire a missile here so that it's on the screen transition as I'm going through. That hits an enemy all the way on the left of the screen, just barely off screen that you guys could barely see. where that drop is, there was a turret. Doesn't really save any time, just makes it a little bit easier to deal with that turret and kind of looks cool. Yeah, here we go on to Area 7. Unfortunately, it has different music than the original game, because this track in the original game is one of the best tracks on the NES in my opinion. What's that? No, this is a Switch and 3DS, yeah. Yeah, it just came out, it actually came out the same week the Switch came out. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is over a year old now. Uh-oh, that's really bad. My D-pad said no. Yeah, pretty much different stealth spotlights do different things. All the ones I hit are going to be caterpillar ones that just drop a lot of caterpillars on you. If you know how to set up your three-way missiles just right, you can take most of them out as they're spawning and kind of make them non-issues. But if you miss, it can get into trouble because those caterpillars like to really stun lock you. If you get hit by them, they'll just juggle you into submission. Alright, so onto this dungeon, which, following the theme of this stage, has a lot of stealth elements. Just like the rest of the stage, it's slow to actually do it as intended, so we're just gonna kinda group them together and nuke them down. These enemies aren't really meant to be able to be killed, but with the lightning gun we can kinda just spread and amplify the damage on them to where we can just take them all out even though they have a ton of HP. It's funny because, like, my first casual playthrough of this game, and actually most people's first casual playthrough of this game, they use the striker and it just seems like such a useless gun because it just, you can only have one shot on screen and it moves so slow. But then, like, once you realize that you can just get close to things and mash them down and it does huge damage, it quickly becomes like the most powerful weapon in the game. It was a weapon I seriously never really even used my first playthrough just because it seemed so pointless.
Oh look, a Contra boss.
A Contra boss. This is actually the boss that's on the cover of the original NES game. They just turned it from a top view dungeon boss to a side view boss and moved him back an area. But yeah, this is another
boss.
Yeah, such a original name. But hopefully he doesn't shoot the bouncy rocks at me, you jerk. Wow.
GFW, you get the bouncy rocks.
Yeah. Normally that would hit you and knock you down, and you take fall damage in this, so it just instantly kills you, but somehow it didn't hit me. Hard boss fight.
Hard boss. I mean, it's a skeleton, it's made of bone. Bone is a very hard material.
The hardest part is getting into your tank. Now on to Area 8. Just to be safe, we're going to go ahead and hit retry here, because Area 8 can be really, really nasty. Everything here does lots of damage and stun locks you, and whoever designed this stage is just a jerk. It was a cruel joke that wasn't funny. more not Metroids.
No, don't be silly. They're that one enemy from Mega Man 2 and Double Man stage.
Oh, that's totally what they are.
That's an animation from Skavenger216.
Aren't those literally Metroids?
They actually are.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure those are literally
I think it's
Metroids.
the one from that game called Metroid.
No, don't be dumb. They don't look anything like that. Come on, dude. Come on. You gotta pull your weight.
Trying my Alright, bye.
Don't get heated. So this room right here, I can do a really risky strat where I go to the left side. It's about 7 seconds faster, but really risky because it forces me to kind of skip a checkpoint. But yeah, it kind of forces me to skip a checkpoint that can come in handy if I get into trouble later on in the stage, and it's just a really difficult room with Metroids and shrimps, for lack of a better term, all over the place. So yeah, while it does save 7 seconds and it's worth going for in a PB attempt, it's definitely not worth going for now, because if I were to die trying that, it would probably cost me upwards of 2 minutes. I think we're on pace to finish Underestimate right now, so that would be kind of neat.
That's pretty good.
I know, right? I might actually be kind of okay-ish at video games or something.
What? Don't be silly.
That's not possible.
You are. Look.
Yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me, Proto, I know. Reminder that me and Proto hate each other.
Yeah, of course.
Catch me in the YouTube comments, Proto. That's all. Alright, so there's a really risky strat I can do on this boss. I'm not gonna go for it though. Just in interest of not dying and looking like an idiot. So instead, the D-pad's not gonna agree with me and I'm gonna get the bad pattern. Cool. Whatever. He's dead. Good enough.
Late move.
Uh-oh. That's cool. More OOT strats. Oh, never mind. Apparently I forgot how to do it. There we go. I kind of miss running OOT, to be honest.
Do you really?
I don't miss the 3-minute intro, but I miss the game itself. The game's fun. Sitting through 3 minutes every reset, not so much.
I take you 3 minutes, you're raising 6 minutes.
Alright, so on to phase 1 of the final boss. That's not really the final boss, because if this was a 100% run, we'd go on to Area 9, but we didn't do that, so for the purposes of this run, final boss. We're gonna fist bump him. What's up, bro? Now on to the next phase, which is another huge RNG moment. Final fight in the game, and it can cost you up to 20 seconds in RNG depending on the pattern. You can turn one of 4 different colors, each signifies a different color. I'm hoping for him to either go blue instantly or yellow instantly. Nice time.
Nice.
And hey, we're underestimate. So yeah, that was kind of a sloppy run, but it was okay.
We had fun.
It was
Yeah.
it was death. Other than that death abuse on the save point, it was deathless. But yeah, that was Blaster Master Zero. If you've ever played the original, it's worth checking out. If you've never played the original, it's worth checking out. It's just a really good game. It's dirt cheap. It's only $10 for the Switch and 3DS. Definitely worth picking up. There's a free demo of it, I think, too. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. What's up next?
Odyssey.
Super Mario Odyssey.
A bad game.
We're gonna watch people mash some motion controls, I guess, because that's a thing.